Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in this weekly study. This is a continuation as we are in First Samuel chapter 25 and picking up with verse 5 today, as you can see on your screen. We get into some very interesting relationships here. Remember last week we talked about David and his men in the hillside, and that they were going to encounter a man named Nabal, and we took a look at his name and saw that it means someone who's just a worthless, no value, uh, churlish man, and we're going to get to see him in action pretty soon. So we come to verse 5, and it says David sent 10 young men, and these young men went to Carmel to go to Nabal. And what I find interesting here, where we first see some words that are really interesting, is it says, greet him. Uh, and the Hebrew is Ushelechem, greet him, lo bishmi, in my name. And then it follows after and says the word greet again, but it uses it's translated greet, but it's really um, le shalom, which you may hear the word of shalom in there. And the lamed is preposition meaning to. So to bring peace, that there would be peace coming upon him. Watch for that word shalom. You're going to see it show up quite a few times during David's speech, David's communication with Nabal. But what I thought here was interesting is this term, greet him in my name. As we study the New Testament apostolic writings, we find that understanding of doing things in the name of is very, very prevalent. And being where we are in our culture today and being 2,000 years removed from the New Testament, and probably closer to 3,500 years removed from the time of David, um, we do not have a good concept of what it means, what this means. You know, it's used, we repeat it. The Bible talks about doing things in the name of Jesus. And what we basically do is we just repeat it. We we repeat the words that are said. And to me, it's a very intriguing study, and which I'm still working on. I don't have a conclusion, but to me, it's very intriguing to try to get an understanding of what this means, that this term in my name. And it's there's no special words here at all. It's bishmi, in my name. And so what could that mean? We know that it means my reputation, my my authority. We've heard those terms, but I'm still looking for a better understanding. I'm still trying to search for something that will give me a greater insight as to what they thought when they heard it. Um, if you get any thoughts, toss it in an email, send it to me. Be happy to hear from it and maybe give us a good discussion point. But we see it here mentioned, I think probably one of the first times in the Hebrew Bible, or Christians would say Old Testament. Um, but it's very telling, and it provides an insight into what names meant. And at this time, David's name really, did it carry any weight? Did Nabal know about Goliath? Did Nabal know about his interaction with King Saul? Um, what was this? What did this mean to Nabal when he heard this greeting, to be greeted in David's name? And so if we get to verse 6. This is the line that David instructed his men to say unto them. And so it's Amartem to, and it has a really unique word, lechai, which is the lamed preposition meaning to, and then chai is the word for life. And so he's saying unto him, to life, may you live long. It is now used today in modern Hebrew as a term when someone is toasting someone, when you're cheering them, or you come together and you're greeting one another and maybe clink glasses together. You'll say l'chaim, to life, to prosperity, to long health, longevity. So this is interesting. It's the first time it's used in the Bible, and so fun to see it here. So then he says, "Ve'ata," and then we see the word shalom again. So he's laying down a very benevolent introduction here. So he says, "Greet life to you, prosperity to you, peace be unto you and to your house." And then he says, "Shalom" again, peace be to all that you have. And then peace again. So in this sentence, there's to life, there's peace mentioned three times. You can't get more polite. You can't get more benevolent in a sentence or introduction than what David is doing here. And so this is very, very interesting. And so they got this all rehearsed. Um, David's men, his 10 men go to Nabal. And verse 7, he gives the premise here that, we've been in the hills, we've been hiding from Saul. We were kind to your shepherds. We didn't hurt them. In fact, we protected them. We protected them from the other marauders that were going around. And we had a great relationship with them. Trying to lay a foundation saying, okay, uh, Naval, you really owe us something here. We could have stolen what we wanted. We could have wreaked havoc on your um, livelihood, and then you'd have nothing at all. But we didn't. We treated you well. And so he says to them in verse 8, he says, ask, and, we just want something. And it uses the word feast day, Yom Tov, but it really means a good day. So David is just saying, when the time is right, when you feel you have a good day and everything's in order, he says, "Tena na," give please. And again, anytime you see the word please in Hebrew, the word na, it does make you take notice, because Hebrew is not a very flowery language as far as politeness. And so for them to use the word na, which is a very benevolent, seeking grace type of word, it always causes you notice. So David is going through all the pleasantries, all the kindness, to try to make this introduction with Naval. And he's saying, just give whatever you want, asher, timsah, just give whatever you want, whatever comes to your hand, whatever goes through your mind, whatever your hand grabs. We won't complain if it's little or if it's much, just whatever you feel like giving to us. And so, again, very benevolent. And verse 9 says they came to Nabal and told him all what was going. And verse 9 ends really, really interesting. It says that they waited. They mentioned this. They're looking at Nabal, watching his expression. They know he's, not a really great guy. I'm sure his reputation preceded him. And so it says that they stopped and they waited, and then they get it. Verse 10, Nabal answered the servants of David and said, "Who is David and who is the son of Jesse?" And nowadays there's all kinds of people who are breaking away from their master. Should I go and spend my bread and my water and my meat that I've killed for my shearers and give it to some guy who I don't know where he is or where he's going? Um, Wow, he's really railing on them. Again, his true colors come out, and this is not going to sit well. But we're going to stop there. Next week, we're going to come back. I guess we'll finish verse 12. It says, "So turned the young men of David on their heels." Again, a very interesting phraseology here, that they turned on their heels. The word here is really ladarka, which means they hit the road. Basically, they went to the road. Their feet and sandals went back to the road. But it gives the impression that they scampered out of there because this guy was just in a rage, and they were somewhat fearful. They knew they weren't going to get anywhere, so they just did a hasty retreat, hit the road, and went back to David and told him these words. So we'll stop at verse 12, pick up next week, and see how David responds. And we'll have a little fun with that. So God bless you. Thank you so much for being a part of this study. Pray that you are encouraged and blessed through it, and appreciate all the support you give. And we will see you next week. Bye bye.